truth, they're lying to you. I've never been a numbers guy. To tell you, play it again, how's it end? To be honest, he said, it's right. I've never been a numbers guy, to be honest.
Yeah.
Imagine being the all-time leading scorer in NBA history, a man who has spent over 2 decades dismantling every record that came before him. And then, with a straight face, telling the world, I've never been a numbers guy, to be honest. That single sentence from LeBron James cracked the internet wide open, ignited a firestorm on every sports radio show from coast to coast, and reignited one of the most heated debates in basketball history. Was it humility? Was it deflection? Or was it, as many critics immediately argued, one of the most contradicted statements ever uttered by a professional athlete? Let's get into it. The moment the quote dropped, sports media pounced. On FS1, Craig Carton and Tyrone Johnson went back and forth in one of those debates that feels like watching 2 lawyers argue in front of a jury that's already made up its mind. Carton's argument was sharp and pointed. LeBron has always been acutely aware of where he stands statistically. He tracks milestones. He celebrates them publicly. He does not stumble into records by accident and then shrug. Johnson pushed back, insisting that what LeBron really means is that winning is the North Star, that championships are what he lies awake thinking about, not whether he's sitting at 40,000 career points or 39,999. Both arguments have merit, which is exactly why neither side can claim a clean knockout. So why did the quote explode the way it did? Because LeBron James' career IS numbers. You cannot separate the man from the math. Every season he has played, another statistical pillar has been added to a legacy that is almost absurd in its scope. We're talking about over 40,000 career points, a threshold no player in the history of professional basketball had ever crossed before him. That alone should end the conversation, but it doesn't because the resume doesn't stop there. LeBron has won 4 NBA championships, captured 4 Finals MVP awards, and taken home the league MVP trophy 4 times as well. He has been an all-star in virtually every season he has laced up his sneakers. He has played at an elite level across 4 separate decades, the 2000s, the 2010s, the 2020s, and now firmly into the mid-2020s. The numbers do not just speak for themselves, they scream. So when a man surrounded by numbers tells you he doesn't care about numbers, the reaction is going to be visceral. Social media did not disappoint. Within hours of the quote surfacing, NBA Twitter, or NBA X, depending on who you ask, was flooded with statistical receipts, memes, and hot takes. Fans pulled up every record, every milestone graphic, every post-game interview where LeBron had acknowledged exactly where he stood on the all-time lists. The irony was impossible to ignore. And then came the Exhibit A that critics keep returning to like a favorite weapon, Dennis Rodman. At some point during the 2022 to 2023 season, LeBron took to social media to publicly acknowledge that he had surpassed the legendary rebounder career totals in a specific statistical category. Now, you don't tweet about passing Dennis Rodman on a list unless you know the list exists, unless you have been monitoring it, unless the number means something to you. That is not the behavior of someone indifferent to statistics. That is the behavior of someone who tracks them closely and celebrates when the needle moves. The triple-double debate adds another layer entirely. There have been moments, scrutinized closely by analysts and opponents alike, where LeBron appeared to be engineering situations on the floor to reach statistical thresholds. The most talked-about example involved a sequence with Austin Reeves where LeBron's decision-making in the closing moments of a game raised eyebrows. Critics argued that a player who doesn't care about numbers doesn't position himself to secure assist number 10 with the game already decided. Supporters fired back that LeBron always plays to win, and the numbers are simply a byproduct of greatness. The argument circles and circles, never quite landing. Speaking of the Los Angeles Lakers, the franchise LeBron has called home since 2018. The team's current situation only amplifies the scrutiny he faces. The Lakers have been grinding through a season full of momentum swings. There have been encouraging stretches, wins that reminded everyone of what this roster is capable of when everything clicks, and playoff positioning has remained a live conversation in the chaotic Western Conference standings. But the pressure is relentless. When you are LeBron James and you play for the Lakers, there is no quiet period, no grace from the media. Every win is analyzed, every loss dissected, and every quote stored for future ammunition. The tension is not limited to the outside world either. The Lakers dynamic has drawn attention for another storyline running parallel to the LeBron drama. The situation surrounding Luka Doncic and the relationship with head coach J.J. Redick. Sideline interactions between Luka and Redick have been clipped, shared, and debated online, with observers reading tension into body language and in-game communication. Whether that tension is real or manufactured by a content-hungry media cycle remains to be seen, but it has added to the sense that this Lakers team is navigating more than just basketball. Defensively, the Lakers have given their critics plenty of ammunition. This is an aging roster, and the statistical evidence of that aging is visible on the defensive end. Points allowed per possession, defensive rating trends, transition defense breakdowns. The numbers paint a picture of a group that competes when the energy is right but struggles to sustain it over a full 48 minutes against elite offenses. In a Western Conference where competition is suffocating, with teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder, Minnesota Timberwolves, and Denver Nuggets all capable of exposing defensive vulnerability, the Lakers cannot afford to coast. But zoom out, and the reason this not a numbers guy quote matters so deeply comes back to legacy: LeBron James and Michael Jordan. The two names that define the greatest of all time debate are both ultimately measured by numbers. Championships, MVPAs, scoring titles, win shares, advanced metrics. The argument between their respective supporters is conducted almost entirely in statistical language. If LeBron dismisses numbers, he is effectively dismissing the very currency in which his legacy is traded. Jordan won 6 championships with 6 finals MVP awards and never lost in the finals. LeBron's path, the volume, the longevity, the all-time scoring record, is the counter-argument. Take away the numbers and the debate collapses, which is precisely why the statement felt, to so many fans, like a contradiction wrapped in a soundbite. Looking forward, the Lakers face a path through the playoffs that demands more than nostalgia and highlight moments. The Western Conference is constructed to punish teams with defensive holes and inconsistent depth. LeBron will need contributions beyond his own brilliance, and the roster construction questions that have followed this franchise for years have not gone away. Can the supporting cast hold up in a 7-game series against the best the conference has to offer? Can the coaching staff develop enough trust with the roster to execute in crunch time? These are the questions that will define what this chapter of LeBron's career ultimately means. Here is what we are left with. A quote that was probably meant to express humility has instead become a test for how you see LeBron James. If you believe in his greatness, you hear a champion focusing on winning above all else. If you are a skeptic, you see a contradiction from a man who has spent his entire career aware of exactly where he stands in the record books. The numbers are inescapable. 40,000 points, 4 rings, 2 decades of dominance. And that debate, the one about what those numbers mean and whether they are enough, will keep running long after LeBron plays his final game. Because in basketball, numbers are never just numbers. They are the argument. They always have been.